my special guest, Coach Mercy.
Yes, good to connect again. It's been a while
I
since we
know it's
connected. So
been a
this is
while.
good.
We've been
This is really good.
busy. And happy Thanksgiving. By the way, how was yesterday?
It was good. It was good for us. How was yours?
Oh, awesome. We had fun. We had friends around. We cooked and we ate it all. And
That's
also
part
did
of
a
it.
dance. I love that part. We were thankful. We were so much in the gratitude mode yesterday.
Aw. And
Um,
that's what
can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. I can hear you well.
Yeah. So it was awesome.
That's good.
It was awesome. So let's jump right in. I'm so happy to have you today. I'm trying to pull up some. Oh shit. I didn't do the right thing. Okay,
It's
but
good.
that's
Let's
fine.
go.
Let me jump in and invite you. Hi, Chantina Davis.
Yes. Hey, Shantina.
Nice to have you guys. Thank you for joining. So we're talking today about the heart of gratitude. You all know that we had, for those of you who are in America, it's a Thanksgiving Day in America yesterday, and we just thought that this is a very good topic to talk about, and that's why I felt that I needed to bring my veteran friend and coach.
Yes. Thank
Veteran
you.
friend, and thank you, Coach Mercy, for all you do. You've got quite a great profile, and I am so happy and honored to have you today. You are a kingdom-minded woman, a speaker, and an amazing speaker, wife, mother. And then you have your role as in the I forgot what was your public, yes, in the public health sector, right? You're in the public health sector as
Yes.
well. So I felt that you have such a great insight into, especially being a veteran, being in the public sector, and um, and you're an American in America today, knowing what the world is like and what the mood. It seems as if people are in a, to me, I call it a zoo mode. Like the Z
Mm,
is just so long. People
mhm.
hardly want to laugh because of the tension all around and all over the world. Recession, maybe family, health crisis, health issues. I've gone to the store a couple of times, and I'm just looking at people's faces with a smile, but
Mm.
nobody's smiling. And
Yeah.
I wonder that can we really continue like this? So that is why I thought that this is a good conversation to have with you today. So before you jump into it, can you just tell our audience a little about who Mercy is, more than
Okay.
what I've explained? Thank you
Thank you,
guys
Coach.
for joining.
Yeah, thank you, Coach B, for having me on. It's my privilege to be, on your platform and, just having a conversation around just living that life of gratitude. I'm Mercy. I describe myself as a rolling stone, currently gathering dust, moss, wherever
Mm,
I find myself. And I say that because I believe that God created me and I was just born for transitions. My whole life has been marked with so many different transitions, even as you kind of shared going through my profile and the different things that I've been able, by the grace of God, to be a part of. And all of those things have come through just rolling with it, rolling with the punches and finding myself in different spaces and having to make do of the opportunities that are available. So that's kind of a little bit about me. Currently in Jacksonville right now. Well, not right now, but we're currently based in Jacksonville. My husband's active duty military. He's actually coming up on retirement soon. So we're getting ready for another type of transition. So
Congratulations. That's awesome. I'm so happy for you guys.
me too. I'm happy for me too.
Do you know what? Yesterday, my daughter, because after Thanksgiving we usually watch a movie, and so my daughter just said she wanted to watch this Forrest Gump, Forrest Gump
Oh.
movie. Oh my goodness. So, watching his life through the active military service, and when he got that letter of discharge to run, and the way he took off running home was such. So I'm glad that I saw that before this.
Yeah.
Congratulations again. That's amazing.
It is. Thank you. So we're excited about that. So we're getting ready, excuse me, to chart that new chapter, for our family and for us as well. So that's a little bit about me. I have two children. I have a son and a daughter, a teenager, a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old. Originally from Nigeria. My family moved to the United States when I was a teenager. So it's been a little while. I ended up completing my high school here and going to college and joining the military as well. I did not meet my husband in the military. A lot of people always ask that. We actually
I'm
we met at
curious
church.
about that too,
Yeah, we met at church. We actually met at church. We're in the same singles fellowship at church, and that's how we met. So
Oh my God, that's awesome. That's
so that's
awesome.
how we met.
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you so much for that intro. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. So we're talking about the art of gratitude, and why. Why should people be thankful or grateful or cultivate that culture of gratitude? I believe that gratitude for me is a force, is an energy that just drives you beyond into something so divine, beyond what you can or you could imagine.
Mm-hmm.
That I love, for instance, there are a lot of times that I've been in a part of things happen, life happen to people, and then you were, instead of me to focus on that negativity along my path, whatever it is, once I switch to gratitude, it's a full, burst of energy, of life, of focus for me. And I think that that's over the time has been what has helped me evolve into becoming my growth, my development, regardless of situation and things. I'd like you to talk more about that.
Yeah, and I love when you talk about, when you switch, because gratitude is an active word. It's an action-oriented word. Sometimes we talk about gratitude, we talk about appreciation or thanksgiving or thankfulness like we are now. Thankfulness is more of a feeling. I feel thankful.
I love it.
Yeah, so an appreciation is when we recognize and something excellent. We recognize the quality of something and we attach value to it. But gratitude is the action that actually shows our feeling of thanksgiving or, the appreciation or value that we have for a thing. So when you talk about switching, and that's really what it is, it's about changing our perspective about, that whatever it is, the situation. There is this concept called stoicism, and one of the big practitioners of that, Epictetus, and he talks about life having two levers. Every situation in life has two levers, and he says there is one lever of things you can control. I'm sorry, my lighting keep changing because we're right here by the water. And the sun is doing
Oh,
what it's
that's
doing, but that's the best
beautiful.
light. but that's the best light I could get in here. So
No, no, you're
it's
good. You're
like,
perfect.
but
Yeah.
yeah, and he talks about, every situation in life has two levers.
Mm,
And one lever is the lever of the thing you can control, and the other lever is the lever of things you can't control. And he gave an example of like if a brother offended you, he's like, you cannot control the fact that he offended you because that's gone. So that lever of him offense, the lever of the offense is something that you cannot control.
yeah.
If you choose to handle that situation with that lever, then you will end up down this path of frustration and anger and bitterness. But you can just choose the lever of what you can control, which is how you respond to it, which is how you learn from that experience and how you interact, with that, brother. And that has kind of been my view on my life is there are some things that just I can't control, and I can only change or affect the things that I can control. So my perspective and the way that I look at life has to be that way. And it is a conscious thing that we have to do because it's not natural, because the things that, we're confronting us, they're real. They're not pleasant, and so the natural response there is not to give thanks or to be grateful or to even find value in some of those experiences. But that gratitude mindset, that intentional, active, action-oriented kind of focus is what gets us there.
I love it. I love it. Love that. Do you know, I believe so strongly as a life coach because I get to meet a lot of people um, every day, maybe not maybe every day, but quite frequently. And the most common thing I've noticed is that the state of our lives, that the way we live our life is totally based on our mindsets, the state of our mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is guided by the state of our mind often. So I love that you brought that illustration of making that shift, the mindset shift. A lot of people think that this is a very hard process, and I believe so too. You know, but what does it take really to shift one's focus?
Mm. Yeah, it takes practice, I will
Mm-hmm.
say. I know, like you shared earlier, we're currently celebrating Thanksgiving in America, and Thanksgiving is yesterday, and it was one day. And it was one of those holidays that, coming from Nigeria, it was easy for me to um, identify with, and I think a lot of Africans can identify
Right.
with the holiday of Thanksgiving compared to some of the other holidays, that goes on here. And I think even from being a Redeem member, where every first Sunday of the month, you're celebrating a Thanksgiving Sunday, right? Sometimes, we get carried away with getting dressed up in the food, but it's just that intentionality to take that pause, the ability to remember, the ability to be introspective, to stop and think, to stop and to reflect. So many times, even through the Bible, God would say, remember this, remember that, and when we stop and we think, we're very nearsighted as people, as human beings. The most recent event usually colors everything for us, and it's like, but God has been faithful. Yes, maybe today wasn't the best of days, but today is November 24th, and he has been faithful for, however 200 every other day except for today. But oftentimes that most recent event tends to take, it takes over. So it's that ability to be introspective, to be reflective, the ability to remember. If there's something that I think we've lost, is that ability to remember. It's almost like we're just all just walking around with like long-term memory loss, and just working with short-term memory. And the children of Israel, they found themselves in that kind of place too, where God has just opened the Red Sea, and they just crossed the Red Sea, and then on the other side the water was bitter, and they're like, oh my goodness, like, God, who just did that? It's the same God. Like, how could you not trust him? But that's how we are as human beings. I think if we can, take time, journaling is one thing that always gets me in that space. Sometimes when I go back to read some of my old journals, and I'll be like, oh my goodness, thank you, Lord, for where you have brought me. For even prayers that I wrote down that I never remembered that I wrote them down, but He has answered them and many years ago. Just that ability to remember, I think, will serve us so well.
I love that. That was so good. Mm, thank you. That was really amazing, because for many reasons, to me personally, also, I believe that the fact that we focus on negativity so much, and especially things that we cannot change, we do not have the power, the ability to change, is what is making us remain the way we are, and also maybe in that condition, instead of making it better, it kind of just makes it worse.
Yeah, so true.
It kind of just makes it worse. And that's what I have over time realized, that you have the choice. You have the power to make either the good choice or the bad choice. You either going to stay there or you move out. And one of the ways I believe that people can pivot into fruitfulness, into living life, healthy, it's through creating that habit of gratitude. Because whether we like it or not, there's so many things around our life to be thankful for.
Yes.
Somebody asked a very deep question, and it was like, and honestly, I really wish we can dive deeper into this conversation and just bring it home into that. What are those things, if we have to itemize them, that makes people really feel down, or feel oppressed, feel depressed? What are those things? Could be money, maybe relationship, could be health wise, offense. Those but I feel that those are not, even though they're big things, but if we look around, if we only look at our environment, there's still numerous amount of things to be grateful for that outnumber what we are currently going through. And to me, also, I know that this affects people's mental health so much that if one can begin to practice that act of gratitude, you are able to come out, because there is no how you are grateful, thankful. That's to me is the highest level of light, because that's why I take it as a force, is an energy. I want you to talk to more on the impact of this, so that people can really have like a shift in perspective on how they look at things, and I strongly believe it starts with the way we see things, really.
Absolutely. It does start, with you nailed it earlier when you said perception, that you switch your perception. We
Yeah.
Yeah, I started a little Thanksgiving tradition for my kids, and actually I just remembered now, I didn't do it this year because we weren't home, but I started this Thanksgiving tradition of having donuts for breakfast. And it started a few years back where I was going to get coffee Thanksgiving morning and went into Dunkin' Donut, and they had this new donut where they said they were putting the hole back in the donut. And it was just like a regular donut with a little munchkin on top of it.
Wow.
And I was like, that's so crazy, Every time I buy a donut, I never really stopped to think about the fact that the hole is missing out of the donut.
Mm-hmm.
I get my donut with the hole missing out of it, and I enjoy my donut and appreciate my donut and move on with life. I think in the same way in life, when things happen to us, in in the scale of, you know, everything else that is happening around us, it's easy to focus on the whole and say, where is the whole of my donut? My donut is missing a hole. When God, you know, Jesus has said, in this life you will have tribulations. Like,
Mm.
things are not always going to be perfect.
Right.
Things are not always going to go right. But
Mm.
if you just focusing on the whole of that donut,
Mm.
and the truth is that that donut hole is serving a purpose for someone that's on a diet that cannot have the whole entire donut. You know, like that donut hole is serving a different purpose and has been
Love
mixed in
it.
with something
Mm.
else. What you have is the donut. And just that ability to focus on what you have versus what is missing, it will keep people
Mm.
from moving forward. It will keep us from truly living the fullest, because we will always feel like we're living life in deficit. We will always feel like we're being cheated out of something. And to your
Mm.
point, that creates a path and a chain reaction that keeps taking us down this rabbit hole of rejection, of failure, of the fear of moving forward, the fear of starting something, the paralysis of making decisions or whatever, because we're so afraid.
So
And
good. Yeah.
that's what ingratitude does. That's what that perspective of constantly focus on the negative does, is that it clouds our ability to see clearly. It clouds our ability to even enjoy life. And so it can lead to depression, to anxiety, and all of those mental illness that God hasn't given us. Even the enemy may not even have a hand in it. You know, sometimes we like to, you know, Nigerians, we like to blame the enemy for everything, but honestly, it just starts as a little seed of ingratitude, and it becomes a habit, and then it becomes a lifestyle. And the next thing you know, it's a spirit that has taken over someone.
Oh my God, you nailed it. That's so good. That's so powerful. That is so powerful. I love the way you ended it. That, like, it's a spirit. Oh my wow. That's so amazing, because that goes to show that for every there's something I like to say, that for every challenge or problem or situation you have, the seed of its solution, it's in there.
Mm, mm. That's so true.
That's and then when we this is so interesting what you said first. I love it, love it, love it. So when we move past that point of getting frustrated about things, or focusing on the negativity or things that we do not have, we don't, and we just shift our focus to maybe the fact that you even have your kids around you,
Mm.
the fact that you're even able to wake up in the morning and put your feet, the fact that you're able to drink a glass of coffee or water, whatever you want to drink in the morning, the fact that when I hear some people's that have gone through issues, and you're looking like, I remember I was in a prayer group one time, and this is so funny, because the guy, the lady, her husband was hospitalized, and then
Mm.
she had to call for us to pray for our
Mm.
husband to be able to pass gas, so
Then
that
we go home.
he will be released. He
Yeah.
will come out of discharged. And I'm like, oh my God, things we take for granted.
Mhm.
Things we take for granted. You know, a lot of people will worry, oh, I'm not eating a three-course meal. I'm not eating, I don't have, even if it's one. Do you know, both of us grew up in Africa. We know how people live in that
Mhm.
environment, and some
Mhm.
don't have food. And yet these people are the happiest.
Mhm.
When you talk of the way they express their emotions and things, about life, even in that, I watched kids with torn clothes, and I'm almost drawn to tears, on the street, begging for food, yet dancing. walking to find their daily meal, like placing things on their head and moving in between cars on that highway, and yet doing it with so much joy.
Mm.
You know, I want to ask you, what's the difference in value? The Because for people, or let me even talk in your perspective, maybe our audience can learn from that. You know, why is this so valuable?
Mm.
To come to terms with that, this has to be my default setting.
Mm. I love, when you were talking about, the African experience. And I remember, when I was younger, it wasn't
Mm.
like we were rich. I mean, there were days where we didn't have 3 square meals to eat. But I remember this one little prayer we used to pray as a song as kids. And it says, some have food but cannot eat.
So
Some
good.
can eat but have no food.
I said that.
We have food
We
and we
have
can
good,
eat.
but God is glory to be in the city. And we chorus
And we'll
it.
chorus it, and
Oh,
we
I
will,
love this. Yeah.
right? We were talking about, just dancing and celebrating and appreciating what
Mm.
you have in the midst of lack, right? And that, I think those are some of the things that shaped our perspective. Those are some of the things that I believe that have shaped, our outlook in life, is those little things, those little examples of, it doesn't matter how much it is, the fact that you have something, and not just that you have food, but the fact that you can actually eat that food,
Mm.
that's worthy of praise, is worthy of thanksgiving, is worthy of gratitude and appreciation. And honestly, I have this idea, not idea, but I have this theory that we as a society and as human beings have become less appreciative, and gratitude is so much harder because we have lost touch of things.
Oh my
Like with the
goodness.
technology, yes, like with
Same
technology, we
here.
rarely ever see
Yeah.
anything. We don't even
Mm.
touch cash anymore. Like my kids is just like, yeah, can you swipe it? It's like, that's money. The concept of value has been lost because things are not tangible anymore. Remember when we used to have like the cassette, and you have to wind it, even better, the CD players, and you had your CD, and you had to be so careful not to touch, the the inside of your CD so that
Right.
it wouldn't start skipping.
Right.
But it gave you the sense of the fact that things
Mm.
have value. It gave you the sense of the fact that things needs to be maintained and taken care of. Now it's just a button on my phone, and when I'm done, it goes away. And we lose a sense
Oh
of value
my God. That's so
for
good.
even the little things, for even the little things. And when we lose that sense of value for even the little things, it just scales up to the big things in life. And I think that's part of that decline, is just because things are not tangible. A lot of things are not tangible anymore.
That's so, that's so amazing. That's so powerful. Oh my God. That's so powerful. You nailed it right there. And I think that is it. That is it. Oh, that's it. Because you know why? Hmm, because of the innovation. You're frozen, by the way. I don't know if you're
I
aware.
am okay. I thought if that was me, I was just trying to think here. I think it might be the. Can you still hear me though? It might be the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Wi-Fi
That's fine.
connection here.
I
Okay.
just wanted to let you know. Mm. You
Let me
touched
see.
a
Maybe
very
troubleshoot.
vital point there. The world we live in is totally different.
Mm,
Somebody says that in the world we have today, the village life no longer exists, which was part of
mm,
the things we were talking about. Those were the things that helped us to have value cultivated, that value in us, and we were able to appreciate people and things. We were able to appreciate opportunity. You were able to appreciate there's this video of a couple recently that went viral. I don't know if you saw it. I just brought that just came back from nowhere to, you know, the video. What happened was that this couple got on their reception. You know how we do elaborate reception party as African. So they did that, and then they now had a special guest to come perform. So which happened to be the bride's, like,
I saw that favorite artist.
you saw that video,
yes,
you know,
yes,
and you know, the bride is being critiqued for the way she expressed her emotion, you know, towards the guy, the artist, the musical artist that came to perform at our wedding. You know, the surprise, and they were like, "Why would you be kneeling down, idolizing all of that?" And in my head, I laughed because I knew that for this lady, even though some emotional intelligence may be required to some extent, but it's part of the culture, is how she grew up appreciating and admiring things. And then it looks like you've over exaggerated the whole process or the whole thing. But that's who we really are. And that's why we don't even value people anymore.
Yep.
We're not thankful for our neighbors, for our co-workers, for our kids, our spouses, whether or not they took out the trash yesterday or they didn't do that. But the fact that they are there to be seen, to talk to speak with, goes a lot. But you know, we've fast forgotten that life is about people. Our humanity matters. So I love when you nail it up to that point, because that has been my whole essence, even as a life coach. Like, our humanity, we need to value each other, value ourselves at the end. And that brings me to my next question to you. That brings me to my next question to you, which you mentioned. Is it right to now begin to leave the end in mind? If somebody were to be given, like, maybe you only have a few days, the person, we don't pray that for anybody, but in situations that you are given a choice to live or to die, how much how much of your life is going to go into, oh, my assets in London, my assets in Japan, my assets in the money in the bank account, how much of that is going to that, or rather into the people that you love? How do we start to have that end in mind and imbibe that culture of gratitude into our daily lives? The people will see, you know, because I believe also strongly that when we are happy, we tend to treat people right.
Yeah.
And that comes from a place of gratitude. It comes a place of knowing that, yes, there's something worth being thankful for about the people, about me, my life, or people around me. The fact that you're even still alive to rewrite your story is enough.
Yes.
Please speak to that.
Yeah, that's loaded. I was listening to an audiobook, and my daughter, she was in the dining table, she was coloring, and the person was talking about time and how much, you know, we allot for different times. And she sat there, I didn't know, and she goes, "Mom, that means if I sleep for 7 hours out of this week, then I have slept for," she said, 7 times 7, that's 48, 9 hours I have slept out of 180 something hours I have for the week. She's like, "Oh, wow." And then if I do this, and she started to kind of go through all of the hours, you know, that she normally spent for stuff. And she's like, oh my goodness, I need to cut my shower shorter or something like that. She said that made me laugh. But the truth of the matter is that it doesn't even matter how long we think we have for time. Time is never enough for
It's
anyone.
not.
You know, they say that the wish of a dying man is always more time, you
Mm.
know, and that's why it is important that we are using our time wisely. It is important that we're making the best use of our time, you know. The scripture says that how can you say you love God when you don't love the brother that you see? How can you say you love God that you don't see when you don't love the brother that you see? You know, Thanksgiving cannot just be, oh, I'm thanking God, but then I can't appreciate and take time to appreciate people, to appreciate the people in our lives, to appreciate the people who have made a difference in our lives. It is important. It is, we may think it doesn't matter, but it does matter, because to your point, it is creating an atmosphere of
Mm.
something. It is creating
Mm.
an energy, you know, as what, you know, as you would say. Another thing, you know, there was a Bible study I did by Louis Giglio, and it says,
Okay.
don't give the enemy a seat at your table. And that Bible study was based on Psalm 23.
Mm.
And he talks about how it says, God prepares a table before me in the
Mm.
presence of my enemies. And he just really deep down in that particular verse and talking about how the table is prepared for you in the presence of your enemies, but do not invite the enemies to your table.
Mm.
And he started talking about, you know, we just got done with Thanksgiving, and it was a really beautiful Bible study. It's a video Bible study, and he had this table like just full of all kind of food and everything. And he's like, you're at the table. This table is prepared for you. But if you bring like, you know, bitterness, you bring grumpiness, you know, you bring all of these things that are the enemy of your soul. Because remember, it says God has restored your soul. Your soul has been restored and all of that.
Right. Mm.
Bring all of these things to the table, then you are inviting the enemy to a table that God has prepared for you. It goes back to perspective. It really does
Mm.
goes back to the perspective of the fact that one, life is short. Two, how we relate to human beings oftentimes is a direct reflection of how we relate to God. You cannot, you know, act a certain way to the people you see and then think that the God you don't see, you can be benevolent
Yeah.
towards him. That's not even the
Even how
order.
we relate to ourselves,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
you know, because the way we see God, sorry for cutting you, the way we relate to God has to reflect on us and then to the people. But
Yes.
if it's wrong, either way, it's not just going to be hard up. Yeah. Go, please go ahead.
Yeah. And so it's like that, and that really is it. It's that understanding of, one, time is short. You may live 100 years, even 100 years is short. So it's not living every day necessarily like it's the last, but it is living every day to its fullest. Living every day to its fullest, not waiting till tomorrow to mend that relationship with that brother or with that sister, not waiting till tomorrow to appreciate that child, that spouse, not waiting till tomorrow, you know, because that's, even imagine, you know, a husband and a wife, and you're supposed to be enjoying life together, you're supposed to be enjoying time together, and that spirit of ingratitude, that grumbling spirit, that murmuring spirit is what's floating around. So days that you're supposed to be enjoying with your spouse and living heaven on earth are being spent in anger or, you know, being
Yeah.
upset.
Yeah.
I know how I get when my husband's upset at me, like, yeah, like you're not having a good time. You're not
Right.
enjoying yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're not. And so you're shorting yourself. You're shorting
Mm-hmm.
yourself from really enjoying the fullness of your life, the fullness of a life that you could be experiencing if you had just taken the time to mend those bridges and to show love, to show gratitude. And so, yeah, it's really important that we're careful not to give the enemy a seat at our table. And oftentimes that enemy starts with grumbling and mumbling, and that, you know, focusing on the missing aspect of the donut instead of really enjoying the donuts that is there.
I
Life has not, yeah, life has not been promised to us without, any problems or problem-free life. It's a fallacy. And so there is this, what do you do when your spouse is not connected to your purpose? Look at the purpose coach. Purpose coach is over here like
when you just
that's the one. And that's a good one. What do you do when your spouse is not connected to your purpose? When your spouse is not, you know what? I had this kind of epiphany one time from the Proverbs 31 woman. And it says this Proverbs 31 woman, she goes, she sees this field, she considers it. She has her maid servants, to help her around the house and all of these things. And her husband sits at the gate. And I'm always like messing with my husband. Like, this Proverbs 31 woman, her husband is just sitting at the gate all day doing nothing. I know that the sitting at the gate thing is I know that the sitting at the gate thing is supposed to be like he's working at the gate and he's part of, the lawmakers of the town and the elite of the town. I understand that. But this woman is doing everything all by herself. And one of the things that I realized that she did was that she built the support that she needed for whatever it is that she needed to do, and not necessarily relying on her husband to be her support. I think a lot of the times we rely on our spouses to build the purpose that God has given to us instead of them just being our husbands and our wives.
Or instead of them supporting our listen, it's the purpose coach himself that is asking that question.
I know. And your purpose.
Yeah.
I know. And it's easy to think that, because this person is my wife, they must be the one that should help me build, or that should help me create everything that I need, for the purpose for what God has called me. It may not always be that way. The issue comes when this person, your spouse, doesn't have, one, maybe they don't have what it takes to support this purpose, or two, they're just not in alignment with that purpose. Now it is now up to you to get whatever it is, that structure that you need, that help that you need. So this woman went out and she got people that would be home, handmaiden, that would watch the house so she can go out and check out this field and buy this field, right? She got people who could make clothes with linen so that her purpose was keeping her house and making sure it was done. And she wasn't waiting on her husband to say, I'm still waiting for you to do. She did what she needed to do to get it done. And sometimes it's that kind of ruggedness that we have to have. I know, being a military spouse, if I sat around and waited until my husband was home and he was always 100% available for me to do the things that I needed to do, they would never get done.
Honestly, thank you for that brilliant answer. I also strongly believe that setting a model of gratitude in the home will eliminate some of this misunderstanding, miscommunication, and challenges, because I just see gratitude as a sweet spot of where to be, because for a man who communicates his gratitude, is thankful to his wife, or for vice versa, that there's no how the person would not be able to listen, to take out time to get to know you, to get to know your purpose. Your children will be brought into that light, because the idea is creating the culture of gratitude, within a home. I think it should be one of it should be, gratitude should be part of every family's mission statements.
Absolutely. I remember, I think during ECCP, Sir FD was talking about collecting thanks. Like, he's like, I go through the day and I'm like collecting thank yous. Like, every time somebody said thank you, I collected one. Like, in the house, like creating this challenge of collecting Thanksgiving, right? In our homes, collecting and giving. giving thanks, right? Because
Yeah.
when when somebody
That's
thanks
meant
you, oh,
Mumu's
go ahead.
button. Yeah. Collecting, go, please
Mumu
go ahead,
button
say it.
is,
Yeah.
our Mumu button is interesting. I like it.
Yeah.
It really is, I think a mumu button for everybody, if we would say, and honestly goes back to, earlier when we said that appreciation is ascribing value to something or to an act. Thanksgiving is the feeling of being pleased, and gratitude is the action that we take out of those that feeling and that value that we have ascribed to it. And when we put it all together, really the word is honor. It's just honoring,
Yeah.
that the
Honoring
person
someone.
honoring.
Hmm.
It's honoring someone. It's honoring God. It's honoring the people that God have placed in our lives. I mean, it's just ascribing honor to fellow human beings, and that's really what it is. And that's why it is that, mumu button, as it says. And, mumu is just kind of like, I'll say it's, what is that? Where you diffuse. It's like the diffusing button. It's like, you like just diffuse someone and make them all soft is kind of what that illustration is saying.
I know that's so brilliant. Thank you so much because I believe that concept it has to be a model in every home because
Yeah.
it kind of set the pace. You think of it, even God says that you come to Him with an heart of gratitude. And
Yeah.
that's when you can actually make your request known. You don't walk up to somebody and say, hey, I need this done by tomorrow. You see a lot of that even in the corporate sector or the
Mhm.
corporate world without showing appreciating the fellow or your colleagues, your staff, wherever it is, and that goes to show how we have so much devalued the power that this act of gratitude brings. When somebody
Yeah.
gives you, lately I've seen people that when you even give them money, they go like, is that all? It's like the way even the way they receive it, and that's why
Mm.
I felt like you can't judge that lady that viral marriage went viral because of the way she
Mhm.
appreciated that moment.
Yeah.
that, those are that's the kind of people God is looking for.
Mhm.
Out of gratitude is what just being yourself. Look at David in the Bible. He was so dance before God, and the Bible says David, God said that David is a man after my heart because of the way he lived his life,
Mhm.
because of constantly being. David had many wars to fight. He had so much enemy, but he was constantly thanking God in that gratitude mode, and that helping. And I think that's a fantastic model to partner to live after.
Mhm. I one of the things that I'm always intentional about doing is like thanking my kids. I think especially from the African, background, it's
Mm.
easy like they're supposed to do that. Like why should I thank you, for
Mm.
what you're supposed. Why
What's
should I
responsible?
thank you for doing this or for doing that? And I'm always very intentional about thanking them. And even when we go out, like we go to a restaurant, like the service, I'm always like extra intentional about saying thank you or about being expressing my appreciation for what they are doing for me. I read a book, and the book is called Magic Words, and it's from this guy who was a magician on in Vegas, and he talks about, but he wasn't talking about the magic. He was talking about types of words and the most powerful words
Right.
that
Mm.
he that just to your word, that mumu button thing, the magic words that actually pushes those mumu buttons. And one of those words was thank you. And another part of that, another thing that I really took from that was people's names and the importance of saying people's names when I get on a phone call and somebody tells me their name. sometimes I'll write it down so that by the end of the call, I can say, hey, Jim, thank you. You've been a great help today. And, or in person, and you will see the way people will respond and react when you call their name and you attach a thank you to their name and then the reason why you are thanking them. It's like the ultimate remove button in life
I love
for like diffusing any situation,
it.
because it's one of those powerful things, and the powerful words, two powerful words, so to speak, put together is appreciating people, saying thank you, and saying it directly to them. And I'm always intentional in doing that with my kids, because it's so easy as parents to think that, well, you're supposed to do that. I'm paying the rent. I am your parent. You're supposed to do this. You know, like, oh, thank you for doing that. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you for, making an improvement on whatever it is, because we all need it. We all need to hear those words, not just that we give them, but that we hear them as well, and that we are being appreciated. That feeling of appreciation will make me want to do more, will give me the encouragement, the motivation, and the excitement to go the extra mile, versus if I was,
Love it.
or if I wasn't being thanked.
Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Just imagine what the society and the world would look like if we begin to imbibe that culture of gratitude again. Yes, thank you, Coach Mike. What did he say? He's saying that I think that's a very good, lovely concept too, adding people's name, mentioning their names. And that goes also to show that just going back to what you said earlier about living in a world where it's just like swipe and go. Now, we tend to leave outer surface so much. There is no more, not too many people are deep thinkers. And for me, that goes to show that there are a lot of potentials we're killing within ourselves, even when we tend to do that. Because I think God is a master strategist that has created everything the way it should be. And then when something goes out of default, it affects every other aspect of your life.
Yes.
Negatively. So that's what that's what I feel that we are not seeing, that when we take one aspect right, it kind of trickles down to every other areas of our life. When you begin to sit and think deeply, think beyond the immediate gratification of what you're getting now, or it allows us to have this critical thinking skill back in concept, in place, in line. It allows us to be more problem solving. Because but when everything is just on the surface, hey, how are you? Bye, see you, give me this, give me that, you're doing this, and nobody is sitting down to say, it takes a lot to appreciate somebody,
Yes.
It takes time. It takes a process. It takes you really looking and valuing that person, and that's why I think it's common for people at the end of their life to really appreciate people more at that time, because I don't know what that dynamics is about,
Yeah.
but it's really very important for us to appreciate people. Take out time to identify. I love what FFD used to say. He would say that don't just thank people, tell them why you're thanking them. I learned that concept a lot from him. Thank you for doing this. It's just beyond that saying thank you, thank you for doing this. It makes the person goes further to want to do more or to receive more. I want you to talk on, we'll soon go. I think this is about the last one. How do you feel that this will impact the society?
I think honestly, if we can, cultivate that attitude of gratitude, right? And not just by words, but in
Mm,
actions, and actually express the thanksgiving and appreciation. I think it will be definitely, of course, a more pleasant environment in society to be in, where I don't know about you, but I know that when I receive a heartfelt thanks, it puts me in a good mental space. Like I'm happy. I feel proud of myself. I feel valued. I feel like whatever it is that I have done actually made a difference. And that encourages me to do more of that.
mm,
Where if I don't get a feedback of gratitude or even appreciation or acknowledgement, then I'm like, okay, obviously that person either didn't like it, or it wasn't good or whatever, and it stops. And so it's almost like a cycle. It's a cycle. Gratitude is a cycle of good. It creates that cycle of good where I appreciate you, you start to feel good about that, and then you extend that, and to somebody else, and then somebody else, and somebody else. You create that atmosphere in your home. Your children are people who honor
people.
people and who show
Mm,
gratitude. And it starts like that, right? Home, community, and then the nation. And it will just I don't even think, everyone has to. I was speaking at I think the prayer board, and we're talking about this concept of a quorum of people. When God came down and was going to destroy Sodom. And he says to Abraham, Abraham, I'm going to destroy Sodom. And Abraham's like, well, what if there were 50 people, that could stand for righteousness to preserve Sodom and Gomorrah? And God's like, yeah, for 50 people, I wouldn't destroy Sodom. There wasn't 50. And then, they start bargaining all the way down to 10. So I don't even believe that it is necessary for every single person on the face of the earth to do it. But I think if the Christians would, even if
I love
it's
it.
10% of the Christians would, right? It would change the dynamic
Mm,
of the world that we live in.
I love
Yes, of
it.
course, it would be great if everybody could, but I say even if it's just 10, like 10% of the world will cultivate that value of gratitude and thanksgiving and honoring and celebrating, the people in our lives. I think it will make the world of difference.
That's so good. That's so good. And I think that it's it's the normal thing to do. You know, the reverse tend to be awkward, but I see into this world when people see, especially when in the culture, when they see a woman honoring her husband so much,
Mhm.
maybe honoring it in public, and then you get, why is she doing that? She's doing too much, or a man doing the same, and then you see this attitude and habit of women saying that they are enough in their own light, and so I don't need people. I don't need help. I don't know. I've forgotten the term for it. That, you know, that. But I feel that that has to come back,
Yeah.
because it's the norm to get people to the normal thing, to really appreciate people. Just
Yeah.
like you said, it makes them to feel honored, to feel worthy, you know, that to feel accepted. A lot of people feel so alone and rejected. So many people in that space today, just because we're dealing with a lot of people with rejection, with depression.
Mhm.
It shouldn't be. If only somebody was there to say, it starts from the home, like you said. Thank you for doing this. Thank you. And see people the way God sees them. See ability, see potential, because when you say thank you, you bring more of these people out. When you say thank you, they want to do more tomorrow. And as you are developing your skill or your gratitude mode or lifestyle, the person you're thanking is also developing their capacity, their potential in being able to do more and exercise more. So I think it just kind of have that ripple effect that is so powerful and can impact the nation and our world, our family so greatly. Thank you.
Oh wow, this has been so good.
It's been
Thank you, Coach V,
so
for
good.
having me
Thank you,
on.
Coach Messi. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing this live with me. I learned so much from you talking, and I'm going to watch this again. It's been so, and I learned that yes, today. I think we need to enforce this law in our home. Everybody must cultivate this gratitude beyond just the Thanksgiving.
Mm,
It's not about
mm,
Thanksgiving only. It
no,
shouldn't be once in a year thing. Then you're going around the table. What are you thankful for? I'm thankful for my mom. It should be a daily thing. It should be a daily habit.
absolutely. Yeah, and it's a work in progress. And honestly, I
Mm.
think um, there are degrees of that, and sometimes, truthfully, life does get busy, and it gets overlooked. And but those are the little things that makes the world of difference. And so when we have to fight for what's important, I think that's probably one of those things that's important. Like re-energizing that spirit and that atmosphere of just saying thank you. And it starts with just the little things, just saying thank you for that, thank you for this, or
I
saying there.
love it.
The opposite of saying of being having expressing gratitude is really rooted in pride. It's almost to your,
Mm.
like we were saying earlier about this mindset of I don't need anybody, I'm self-sufficient, I'm an independent woman, I can do it all by myself.
Yeah,
So don't open the door for me. You open the door, I don't need to say thank you. Like it's really rooted in pride. And
right.
mhm,
Mm.
it's really rooted in pride. And
So,
it take a
so
humble
true.
it yeah, it takes a heart of humility to thank someone, to thank your children, or even to thank someone who, maybe you may not agree with, or, just because they offended you for one thing doesn't mean that that's the whole entire value is wrapped up in that offense, or they're of no good outside of that. So
I love
appreciate
it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I remember some of those stories of not really stories, lectures on spouses, home, children. I need to go back to it then. I used to like write a little letter note for my kids when they come back from school. Sometimes I used to, or just write something nice, even if it's your spouse, celebrates them, send text messages every now and then. It doesn't have to be like Christmas or birthdays alone, or so that it makes it now look like you're doing something very strange out of the blues, other than when you constantly learn to appreciate people.
Mm.
Appreciate people, take time to look at people. And I also remember we're talking the other day, and somebody raised the question, how do I tell point out my friend, something to my friend, and the negative that she's practicing, and I don't want her to do it. How can I do it without her being
Then,
offended about it,
mhm,
And then she went asking, I'm like, if you have cultivated the habit over the time of telling her, oh, you look nice today, you look so beautiful, I
mm,
like your hair, I like, and you're doing that regularly, the day she looks awful and you say, oh, girl, something is wrong here, there won't be any form of you know
yeah.
offense at that point. She's going to really see you as somebody. But when we haven't done something for so long, and or we've never done it at all, and all of a sudden it's going to look suspicious.
Yep.
is going to be taken negatively, even though we have the right intention. So I believe that having that practice of really, really appreciating people and be thankful to God, you know, thankful, just like you said, your family members, your colleagues, your co-workers, whatever, even if it's a candy they gave you, oh, thank you for that candy you gave me yesterday. I love it. You know, what do you like about it? It just, and I know for a fact that that's also a way to get people to communicate. We don't
Yeah.
communicate anymore. Eh?
Yes.
That's
Yes,
also
that's so
a
true.
way to get people to communicate with one another. Like Coach Mike was saying, asking the question earlier, if there has been that practice of, oh, thank you, my wife, or thank you, my husband, for doing this, for staying at home today, for whatever reason, and it's been a culture. It said like a soft landing for anything.
Oh.
You are able to communicate effectively.
Mm. I love that. I love that illustration you gave about the friend, needing to say something difficult.
Yeah,
I think it was Stephen Covey, the habit of highly successful people, and he talks about, our bank account. He used the illustration of a bank account that we have in relationships, and how when we
I
make
love it. Yeah,
deposit,
I
just when we
remember.
make
Hmm.
withdrawals. Yeah, and it's thank yous are deposit. They're positive deposits that we make into
I
each other's
love
life,
it.
right?
I love it.
And it just keeps growing. It just keeps growing. It just keeps growing. That even when maybe you make a withdrawal by doing something, maybe offensive or whatever, that you have enough thanks to cover it. I love that illustration. And it also helps with communication. Like if you've been a certain way, loving, honoring to someone, when you're not giving them those same words and you're telling them the truth in love, lovingly, it will be easily received because you have an account
Yeah,
that is, that has been proven over time with them.
that's so true. I love the way we ended this. Yeah, I love those.
Me
I love it.
too.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone that joined. You were amazing. Thank you, Ella. I didn't see you earlier. Thank you, Stephen.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate you. I love you, sis. Thank you for doing this. This has been
Thank
so amazing. I learned a lot again.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much for having me on, for inviting me. I appreciate your time.
Yeah,
So I know you haven't been doing anything else, but we're here like chatting it up.
I,
And so I really appreciate it.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, everybody. Have a blessed day and see you later.
Bye.
Bye.